Okay, so in this video, we are looking at the idea of traveling a network. So we have our network diagram and we're looking at different sort of bits of terminology for ways we can go around a network diagram. Now I have a whole bunch of definitions at the top here, and I have a little kind of summarized table down the bottom that we're going to be referring back to throughout the video. Now, looking at all of these, there is a little bit of sort of content we have to remember when we do this, but I'll go through these one by one. Now, a walk is a connected sequence of edges. Okay, so it means going between the different vertices along the edges, showing some route between vertices and edges. Now, a walk is the most kind of broad way we can travel a network diagram. Think about this when you go for a walk anywhere, you're not limited by anything, right? You can walk in any direction, you can go back the way you came, you can walk as far as you want, and you can stop whenever you want. So a walk is really kind of broad. We can walk anywhere. And you can see all of these other ones are types of walks. They're just specific types of walks that we're going to be doing. Now, a trail is a walk with no repeated edges. So imagine like a walking trail when you go somewhere. When you go down a trail, you're essentially not repeating any edges. So think of like things on a walking path as edges on a network diagram. You're not repeating these. You're walking along a trail. You're not going back the way you came. You have to follow this thing along. So trail is a type of walk with no repeated edges. That part is important. A path is a walk with no repeated vertices. A circuit. Now, think of these two words, circuit and cycle. They both kind of mean something circular, right? So if you think of something circular, it means you start and end at the same place. So with both of these, you can see they start and end at the same vertex. The only difference is a circuit has no repeated edges and starts and ends at the same vertex. A cycle has no repeated vertices and starts and ends at the same vertex. This table down the bottom just summarizes this information. As you can see here, a walk is the only one where repeated edges are permitted. In all of the other ones, we can't repeat edges. Now, for the other ones, with some of them, we can repeat vertices. Now, with our trails, for example, we can't repeat edges, but we can repeat vertices. In a path, we can't repeat edges, but we also can't repeat vertices. With a circuit, we can't repeat edges, but we can repeat vertices. And with a cycle, we can't repeat edges. And no, we can't repeat vertices, but the first and the last one will obviously get counted twice because we start and end at the same place. So, going into some examples to get you used to this. Now, looking here, it's saying that we start at vertex D, and you can see that we go along here. We go from B to D to C to A to E to C to D. Now, we have no repeated edges, so we definitely know it's not a walk. But you can see that we have hit our vertex C twice, because we go B to D to C to A to E, then to C again. So we look at our table. With a circuit, repeated vertices are permitted. So we're starting and ending at the same vertex, so it's either going to be a circuit or a cycle, but we have repeated a vertex, so this will be a circuit. Okay, part B. We're starting and ending at A. We go from A to E to C to D. Also, these arrows, remember, this is a directed graph in this case because the arrows show us some kind of direction. We're going from A, E, C, D, B, A. Now, once again, we haven't repeated any edges, so it's definitely not going to be a walk. And we can also see we've started and ended at the same place, so it's either going to be a circuit or a cycle, but we haven't repeated vertices. So this one is going to be a cycle. Next one, we start at B and we end at F. So we go from B to C to A to B to D to F. once again, the vertex of B has been passed through twice, okay? So it's still not a walk because there are no repeated edges. Remember, B to C, that's one edge, and we never repeat any other edges. Now, it doesn't start and end at the same place, so it's either going to be a trail or a path. Now, with a trail, repeated vertices are permitted. So this thing will be a trail. The very last one, we start at D, we end at B. Now you can see here that we are walking through from D to E to C to A to E, then through this edge again to C, then to B. So you can see this part here, even on the diagram, it looks a little bit messy. We've repeated this edge, okay? So we've gone this edge from E to C. We have done that twice. The only type of route here where repeated edges are permitted is a walk. So this guy here will be a walk. Okay, so we're just kind of practicing going through classifying these based on this little cheat sheet we have over here. Now, example 2, we're basically using the graph below and we're going to draw up all of these different types of walks, and we're going to classify it as a trail, path, circuit, cycle, or walk only. Now, I've included the cheat sheet down the bottom here for your reference, and we are going to go through and basically just draw on this and then classify each of these. Now, we've gone from A to B to E to B, so we've gone back to B, then we've gone to F. Now, this idea of going back to B, this is a kind of a dead giveaway. We are repeating an edge, okay? So we've gone from B to E, then we've gone back to B. Anytime we repeat an edge, we say that this is a walk only. So for the first one, this is a walk only. Okay, second one, let's draw it in. So we're going from B to C to D to E and then back to B. Okay, so you can see we have B and B. We start and end at the same vertex, okay? When we start and end, it's either going to be a cycle or a circuit. Now, in this case, we haven't repeated any vertices, so this is going to be a cycle. Sorry, I'll make this smaller again. So we have walk only and we have a cycle down here. Only, and we have a cycle here. Walk only and then a cycle. Now, next one, let's draw this in a moment. So we start at C. We go from C to D to E to F to B, then to A. So we don't have any repeated edges, so it's not a walk only. We don't start and end at the same vertex, so it's either going to be a trail or a path, but we don't repeat vertices. So anytime we don't repeat vertices, this will be a path. Okay, next one. Okay, we start from A, we go A, B, E, F, B, E, D. But wait a minute, we've repeated an edge, so we already know it's a walk only. So as you guys do more of these, you'll get really, really comfortable with kind of picking out and narrowing down the options very, very quickly. Now, next one, we're going from E to F to D to C, then to B, Okay, once again, no repeated edges, so it starts and ends at a different one, so either a trail or path, but we have no repeated vertices, so once again, it's going to be a path. And very last question before we wrap up, we have our biggest kind of walk here, so let's just check what happens. We go C to B, to E, to F, to D, to E, to B. Wait a minute, we've already repeated an edge. So we already can tell it's going to be a walk only. So we could have done the rest of it, but there's no point. We've repeated an edge. The only one of these where a repeated edge is permitted is a walk only. Now remember, trail, path, circuit, cycle, these are all examples of other walks. So when we kind of classify these like we've done here, we write walk only because a cycle, path, circuit, and a trail are still walks, but these three were a walk only. But I hope now you're able to kind of more comfortably classify these and use this kind of reference sheet to work your way through these questions. As you get better and you start to memorize the definitions, you'll be able to do these without the little cheat sheet. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.